This is Patrick Barnard in Montreal. It is April 4, 2025, and this is the 10th edition of the International Press Review. It's been a crazy, mad week with the mad tariffs of Donald Trump and people worrying terribly about the world economy. But while that has been happening, the awful slaughter of innocents in Gaza has continued. The slaughter of women, of children, of healthcare workers. And that is what we're going to look at in the world press today. What you're seeing up on the screen is the headline from a Spanish newspaper, El País, which is read by Spanish speakers all over the world, in fact. And it refers to the first of three stories that I'm going to talk about in this press review. I'm leaving the picture of the headline up there. I'm going to talk about it in a moment. In the past days and past 2 weeks or so, the most terrible events have happened in Gaza. And we're going to look at press coverage of three of them. The first occurred on March 23rd, when 15 Palestinian healthcare workers were killed by the Israeli army as they were working and doing their job. This El País story is interesting because it's one of many in the world press in the last days, which has featured a video made by one of the people who was actually killed on that day, March 23rd. Here's the headline of the El País article, which was filed, by the way, by Luis de Vega from Jerusalem. One of the 15 Palestinian medical workers assassinated in Gaza recorded the Israeli attack before being shot in the head. The Palestinian Red Crescent presents the video before the UN as proof that refutes the Israeli version that its troops attack, quote, terrorists, unquote, from Hamas and Islamic Jihad. I first saw this video because I was reading the El País story. It was embedded in much the same way in newspapers and news platforms all over the world. You're going to watch it now. It's very gruesome. By the way, there's details here. First, 2 healthcare workers were killed in Gaza, and then some 13 more came to help. And they recorded this video, and one of them, the man who recorded it, was killed. Here you see it. The Israel army, after the incident, claimed that these ambulances were not well identified, that they did not have their lights on, that they were moving suspiciously. You can see their movements here. The tape resumes. This video went all over the world, and news organizations referred to it. Al Jazeera, for example, described the video, and I'm quoting now. In the video, the voice of 2 medics are heard, one saying, the vehicle, and another responding, it seems to be an accident. Seconds later, a volley of gunfire breaks out, and the screen goes black. The medic recording the scene can be later heard reciting the Islamic declaration of faith, the Shahada, which Muslims traditionally say in the face of death. There is no God but God. Muhammad is his messenger. He says repeatedly, his voice trembling with fear. He is also heard saying, forgive me, Mother, because I chose this way, the way of helping people.
I'm appalled by the recent killings of 15 medical personnel and humanitarian aid workers, which raise further concerns over the commission of war crimes by the Israeli military. There must be an independent, prompt, and thorough investigation into the killings, and those responsible for any violation of international law must be held to account.
A whole series of news platforms put up this video, and one of them was an organization known as Middle East Eye, which comes from London in the UK. And that organization also posted a very powerful BBC report by an unflinching reporter known as Dan Johnson. Let's listen to it.
In Gaza, even collecting the dead can be dangerous. This was filmed last week by a UN team searching for the missing emergency workers and witnessing civilians under fire.
Another one shot.
When they reached the area, they found 15 bodies buried, along with the mangled remains of their ambulances and a fire engine. Israel says they moved suspiciously towards its soldiers, lights off in the early morning darkness. But what happened here is being described as a massacre and a possible war crime. Muntha is the only survivor, a volunteer medic and a witness now bearing testimony.
I was sitting in the back. We left headquarters roughly at dawn. At around 5 a.m., the UN car was shot at directly in the street.
He survived, he says, by throwing himself to the floor of the ambulance. And his account challenges Israel's justification for opening fire.
During day and at night, it's the same. External and internal lights are on. Everything tells you it's an ambulance that belongs to the Palestinian Red Crescent. All the lights were on until we came under direct fire.
Gaza's paramedics carried their own colleagues to their funerals. The UN says more than 1,000 medical workers have been killed in this conflict. These are cries of grief, but also for accountability.
When aid workers have been mistakenly killed during this conflict, Israel has apologized and promised answers. But now there's none of that. It is defending its actions in this incident and justifying this loss of life by saying it was targeting Hamas fighters.
Since this video became public all over the world, the Israeli Defense Force and the Israeli authorities have said that there was a mistake made and some kind of inquiry is promised, but very little faith is put in it. Meanwhile, the Red Crescent Society, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, has called for an independent inquiry, just as the UN has. In this kind of situation, you have something we saw in the Vietnam War. The attacking power, the colonial power, the occupying power, often issues statistics which are totally false. This is what is happening in the Gaza war, which is, by the way, the worst war between Israelis and Arabs since 1948.
The Palestinian Red Crescent Society calls for an independent inquiry into the killing of 15 humanitarian personnel by Israeli forces in Gaza.
I have been reading this very excellent report by the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. It's entitled, A Closer Look at the Human Toll in Gaza as Deaths Pass 50,000. It's got some very straightforward reporting. The report is very, very careful and concludes that more than half of the people killed in Gaza are older people, women, and children. And of that group, fully 1/3 are children. That's more than 16,000 dead children, not even counting those who have survived, wounded, and suffering from the most terrible injuries. I'm holding in my hand here two reports from Arab language sources, from Al Arabiya and from Al Ahram. Al Ahram is the famous Egyptian newspaper. Both of them are based on a report from Agence France Presse of the killing of children on April 2nd, 2025. So the Al Arabiya report has the headline, Gaza rescuers say 9 children among dead in Israel's strike on UN building. I'll just read the beginning of it for you. The Israeli army said it targeted Hamas militants in a strike on a UN building in Jabalia refugee camp Wednesday that Gaza's civil defense agency said killed 19 people, 9 of them children. And the Al-Ahram report has the headline, 9 children among 19 Palestinians killed in Israel's strike on UN building. 9 children out of 19. You can see that children are paying the price. And here's a France 24 report about another incident that happened on the very next day, this past Thursday. 27 people killed in an Israeli bombing of a Gaza school. Of those 27, 14 were children. For a month, Gaza has been under a state of siege. And that, combined with the renewed intensity of the Israeli army, has made, for the children of Gaza, has made Gaza truly a killing pen. This is Patrick Barnard in Montreal with the 10th edition of the International Press Review.